and an officer shot Breonna Taylor. They killed her, and that's the worst form of the effects of a system that has no accountability to the people. They can kill you, they get away with it, and there's nothing you can do in the courts. I mean, qualified immunity is so restrictive.
Hey everybody, I have a super special announcement. When it comes to immunity and judges having full reign and control, it is just being overran with corruption across the nation. And here in Ohio, we have a really amazing group called the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity. And they are fighting really, really hard to make sure that we have the accountability that we so desperately need. And the hope is that we can get this on the ballot so that we, the people, can vote on it and put it into action. And hopefully this is something that will spread like wildfire and catch on to states across the nation so we can make impactful change that desperately needs to be done. So I have a wonderful group of folks here with me, and I'm really excited to see what comes up and how the conversation goes. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank
you. Pretty good.
It's a pleasure to have you. So tell me more about the coalition in general and what it is that y'all are doing and end goal accomplishments that we're hoping to reach.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to introduce ourselves. My name is Cynthia Brown, if you don't know me. I am the founder of the coalition, as well as the Heartbeat Movement Incorporated here in the great state of Ohio. Next, Kyle, introduce yourself, please.
My name is Kyle Pierce. I'm the executive director of the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity, and I am proud to work with these three amazing people and all the volunteers we have with us in this movement.
All right, next we have Carlos. I'm going in alphabetical order here.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks, Cynthia. I'm Carlos Buford. I'm here in Dayton, Ohio. I'm also a part of the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity through Cynthia Brown, and I'm here to help out.
All right, Jenny Sue Rowe.
I'm Jenny Sue Rowe and a member of the committee. I'm also owner of Veteran Rehab and Refuge.
All right, we're going to have Kyle explain exactly what qualified immunity is for those who don't know exactly, as well as wrongful conviction that we have going on the ballot as well.
So qualified immunity, just to give you a picture, our nation was founded on a government being accountable to the people. Qualified immunity is what makes it almost impossible for you to sue the government in the civil courts when they violated your rights. Now, qualified immunity, it's not in any law. It is not in any constitution, federal or state. It was created by the Supreme Court out of thin air when they decided to give civil protection to corrupt Nixon aides. And the wording of their decision and the way they made that decision, it didn't just apply that immunity to those corrupt Nixon aides, but violated someone's rights, a whistleblower's rights. They applied it to every single government employee in America at every single level of government. That is every federal worker, that is every state worker, that is every county worker, that is every city worker, that's every township worker. Anybody who works for any level of government in America is entitled to qualified immunity. Now, what that means is, say you are a student, like what happened in Tennessee, say you're a college student setting up a table for a political club on your campus at a state university, which is government property, government run, government owned. You have your rights there. And the administration says, wait a minute, you can't have that up there because we disagree with the message you're sending. This student, she was trying to get people to join her Turning Point USA club on campus. Administration didn't like her political views on that. She decided to sue the administration. They got qualified immunity. And so there was never any kind of restitution for that. They did make a small change to the way they approach these things on campus, their policy, and they allowed students to then have a greater area in which they could do these kind of club activities. But as soon as she graduated, they reversed course on that and brought back the more restrictive activities. So that's a pretty mild example. You have the more egregious examples where, like Breonna Taylor, you have officers go into someone's home unannounced at a no-knock raid, and you're in your home just trying to sleep. You hear someone break into your house. You might fear for your life, and you might wonder what's happening. And the officer shot Breonna Taylor. They killed her, and that's the worst form of the effects of a system that has no accountability to the people. They can kill you, they get away with it, and there's nothing you can do in the courts. I mean, qualified immunity is so restrictive. When you bring a case of a rights violation against the government automatically gets qualified immunity. You have to prove they don't get it. So something as simple as, say, a prisoner who, and this is a real case that happened, a prisoner was pepper sprayed while they were in their jail cell. They were pepper sprayed unprovoked, and they went to sue the corrections officer who had done that to them. Well, to get around qualified immunity, you have to prove that there is a case that almost exactly matches the case that you're trying to bring, in which someone has already won against the government in the civil courts. So the case they brought up was, these officers were found to have violated this person's rights when they tased them when they were behind bars. But the courts granted the corrections officer qualified immunity in the pepper spray case because the corrections officer used pepper spray and not a taser. So something so minimally different as that small little fact of the type of use of force can completely throw out your
either which way, there was physical harm that was brought against this victim. It's really scary that they can get away with so many things, and that it is intentionally complicated to try to get any kind of anything done, whether it be filing a complaint and having that have proper attention brought to it, or, trying to get rid of their immunity to have higher accountability. It's a nightmare across the board, no matter what avenue you try to pursue.
It really is. And, at least with qualified immunity, you can get around that. And in a small number of cases, people do get around qualified immunity. However, with prosecutors, they have prosecutorial immunity. Same thing, not in any law, not in any constitution, state or federal. All prosecutors in America have this absolute immunity created by the Supreme Court. You can never sue any prosecutor for any reason, under any circumstances, for anything they do in their capacity as a prosecutor. They can lie. They can get witnesses to lie. They can withhold exculpatory evidence. They can prosecute people they know to be not guilty, and they do all these things, and you can't sue them. And good luck trying to find a prosecutor who's going to prosecute another prosecutor.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, just those facts alone, just right off the bat, those are rights violations. They are literally violating our constitutional right on, a daily basis. And there's nothing that we can do. There's no accountability for that, which is one of the reasons why, ending qualified immunity is so important, so that we can try to weed out some of this corruption.
It really is. And, there's already been a few states that have ended it. New Mexico and Colorado both ended it through their state general assembly. Nevada ended it through their state Supreme Court. I wish we had a Supreme Court like theirs here in Ohio. Unfortunately, we have a very politicized Supreme Court with the governor's son currently serving. And New York City has ended qualified immunity for officers through their city council. And we're trying to end it here in Ohio through a citizen-initiated constitutional amendment. So what happens with that is phase one, we collect signatures for an amendment, and we have the summary. We submit 1,000 signatures to the Ohio Attorney General so he can review the fairness and truthfulness of the summary. He has been rejecting our summary on over 7 submissions for increasingly dubious and meticulous reasons. He really doesn't want this to go through. And in some cases, unlawfully rejecting our amendment, where he rejected it based on the title in part with our March 2024 submission. And the Ohio Supreme Court ruled that he does not have that authority. So after you clear the Attorney General, you go to the Ohio Ballot Board. They determine whether the amendment itself is one single issue or multiple. If it's one issue, it gets to proceed to the large signature collection phase, where you have to collect 10% of the total votes cast for governor in the last gubernatorial election. Currently, that's about 420,000 signatures we would have to get this on the ballot. And those have to be submitted 124 days before the general election. This year, that is July 2nd, 2025. We have to submit 420,000 valid signatures. And with the 50% standard validity rate, that's about 800,000 signatures we're looking at having to submit by July 2nd, 2025 to get on the November 2025 ballot. We get it on the ballot, then Ohioans get to choose whether we want to continue having a runaway government that violates our rights day in and day out, or if we want to be able to hold our government accountable.
So it's time for we, the people, to stand up and come together. We can do this, Ohio. I have faith. We can do this. But it takes us all coming together and taking action to create that change.
Absolutely.
Okay, one more question for Kyle. Could you briefly explain the Wrongful Conviction Act that we are currently circulating the petition for?
Yes, we're also circulating a petition that has to do with the wrongful conviction process in Ohio. Currently in Ohio, if you are wrongfully convicted and, the government lets you out, exonerates you, it's not like some other states where, you automatically get compensation based on the time you were wrongfully convicted. Your freedom, your life, your liberty, your pursuit of happiness, those are all taken from you when you're in jail. And if you're an innocent person who's had that taken from you, the government owes you some sort of compensation for that. We in Ohio have to sue the government in the Court of Common Pleas, go through a whole process. Good luck doing that if you don't have a lawyer. And you know what? If you've been in jail for several years wrongfully convicted, good luck having the resources to hire a lawyer. And that's what happened to Derek Jamison down in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was wrongfully imprisoned for a murder he did not commit for over 20 years, survived 7 stays of execution, and those have to come directly from the governor of Ohio for a crime he didn't commit because the prosecutor withheld over 30 pieces of exculpatory evidence because they know they'll never face any consequences for anything they do as prosecutors. So 20 years of his life taken from him. He was given the items he came into jail with when he was released. I am not sure if he has yet received any compensation from the state of Ohio for the 20 years they stole from him. So this wrongful conviction amendment would set up a statewide board that reviews these cases and the policies in Ohio. It would get rid of prosecutorial immunity in Ohio. It would allow people to not have to go through this arduous process of trying to navigate the legal system just to get what is rightfully theirs, what the government rightfully owes them. So we are circulating signatures for that. If you see anybody walking around asking you to sign, hey, will you sign this wrongful conviction amendment? Please sign it. It'll help have a more accountable government here in Ohio.
Thank you for that. And next we'll have Jenny Sue Rowe share her personal story, why she's on the committee.
I just wanted to say that Sean was our founder for Veteran Rehab and Refuge, and that he had written 2 books hoping to fund his dream. One was an autobiography about his time in the military, and the second one details his business plan to support veterans needing housing. If you go to our website, veteranrehabandrefuge.org, you can learn more about our mission, and Sean's books are available for sale, and you can make a tax-deductible donation. But the reason I got involved with qualified immunity was on July 30th of 2021. I was driving home from work when officers came flying up behind me, boxed in my car, and ran me off the road. They surrounded me with their rifles drawn. They smashed my window, dragged me out of my car, smashing my face down into the road full of glass. I was taken to jail with no explanation given, and I repeatedly asked why I was being arrested, and either they were silent or they would say they didn't know why I was being arrested. While I sat in the jail cell, my husband, Sean, who had been homeless off and on for 10 years since exiting the military, and was now an extremely proud homeowner at our new house. He's left alone in a new town and was just worried sick over where I had gone to. I was supposed to be home in like 10 minutes, and I just disappeared. I couldn't call him as I didn't have my cell phone. It was impounded in my vehicle, and I had a concussion that lasted for 10 days from them smashing my head into the ground, and I could not remember any phone numbers. Our veterans aren't just any citizens. I mean, we're all created equal, but they give up their life to go and serve our country. And they sacrificed so much time with their families. And then Sean come home and only be repaid with abandonment and betrayal by the very system that he so proudly served. On August 4th, a few days after my arrest, I was still in jail. Sean was violently executed by Richland County sheriffs in our home. Over 20 officers, including an ASORT team, Richland County Sheriffs, Mansfield Police Department, and U.S. Marshals descended on our home. They stationed a command post down the road at a house. They used a Bearcat and rammed our garage door, knocking out the foundation beam and the deck beam. It was just a miracle that our house didn't collapse. They fired non-lethal tear gas and beanbags and broke every single window in our house. Everything inside was ruined. Every carpet ruined. Every furniture ruined. All my clothes ruined. Everything's just covered in dust. It's in every crevice. And after 2 hours of arguing with the police, Sean refused to surrender, as again, no reason was ever given to why they were there. And eventually, an officer in the driveway fired a real bullet at our home. From the drone footage above, you can actually see the flashbang as the live bullet hits the window. You can instantly see Sean's demeanor change, realizing real danger and a real bullet. At this point, he was done arguing with the officers and was running for his life, trying to find cover. There was no cover on our deck. He tripped over a patio chair and ran inside to be ambushed by 4 officers that were standing there just 10 feet inside the doorway. Sean never had a gun. He had 2 swords, one in each hand. As he ran inside the door, one sword fell to the ground and the other remained in his lowered hand. Officer Paul Webb and Officer Rod Roos fired 8 bullets into Sean's body, one from an AR-15 and the other one from a Glock 40 at less than 10 feet away. I then learned about Sean's death from a sheriff who later pulled me into the jail hallway and told me that Sean was dead, and I fell to the floor screaming and was making such a commotion. They took me out of the pod unit and transferred me to an isolated cell. For 6 more days, I was in there screaming, carrying on just nonstop, and finally took me to a court hearing that ordered me to a crisis unit for 30 days. They refused to allow me to go home and check on my house that was destroyed and left wide open. People were coming and going all over my property. People were hanging out here, having bonfires, getting drunk, and coming in my house. They call them lookers. They just go around looking at people's stuff that have been through crimes. There was just an aftermath of broken glass and tear gas all over my house. Months later, in a body cam video, I saw that Captain Donald Zahner was doing a walkthrough of my property, and he said that I had been arrested to keep me safe because they knew what they were going to do to Sean. Captain Donald Zahner was the one that orchestrated this whole operation against us. After reviewing my arresting officers' body cams, I heard them discussing how my arrest had been terrible planning and they had bad positioning, and had they been on the other end of the road, I would have made it home. So they knew exactly what they were doing the whole time. They said they don't know why they're arresting me. Even recently this year, I found out more information that the search warrant, they claim that Sean had an outstanding arrest warrant, and in the town that they say initiated the arrest warrant, I obtained their public records and found out there was never an arrest warrant. There was never an arrest warrant in 2021, never in 2020. They never had an arrest warrant for Sean. So this wasn't even about an arrest. It was a setup to kill an Army veteran. And this is what happens when law enforcement operates without consequences. This is what happens under qualified immunity. Officers can lie, they escalate, they kill without accountability, and they are using this story too often of "I feared for my life" as an excuse to execute unarmed people. Way too often. People are being shot in their kitchens, they're being shot at traffic stops, they're being shot in their bedrooms, they're being shot unarmed on their own property. The excessive use of force, arresting people face down in the streets, hearing them cry their last words, "I can't breathe." This isn't just a race issue. Kids are being shot, women are being shot, men are being arrested while holding their babies because their vehicle with their hazards flashing isn't parked appropriately for 5 minutes. Pregnant woman was shot for theft at a grocery store parking lot, being accused of stealing from the grocery store, and nothing of a theft was ever found on her. This isn't a poverty issue. Excessive force is run rampant even as athletes in Miami are being forced face down on the ground during simple traffic stops or even just walking by police presence. And this isn't just an issue with officers. This is an issue with all government officials, including prosecutors, children's services, probate courts, guardianships. Recently in Ohio, a baby died while in Child Protective Services. Prosecutors are deliberately hiding crucial evidence in cases. They're tampering with evidence and sending innocent people to court just to get a conviction to prove their worth as an attorney. Guardianships are decimating families' lifelong bank accounts, retirement funds, stealing property, and literally torturing those they are being paid to care for. Sean's story and all these stories are more than tragedies. It's a call to action. If we do nothing, how many more veterans, how many more innocent people are going to suffer under this unchecked power? And so we're demanding accountability, and these crimes against government, these crimes done by government actors are inhumane, and they need to be held accountable just as any other citizen would be. People need to start call and write to your legislators and demand policy changes. Support organizations like ours, Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity, and fight for justice with us. Demand officials in our government be held to higher accountable standards. Our Constitution and our rights are being severely executed.
Absolutely. I am so sorry you had to go through that horrific experience. No one should ever have to fear the entities that are supposed to serve and protect us. I mean, that's literally their job. So for so many people in our communities and throughout our society, for us to have that still and feared and that fear instilled into us, it's unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable. And for us to have no kind of recoursive actions to take when those laws are violated, there's no reason.
I wonder why we run from cops at traffic stops. We're running because we're scared. People are scared from their life. Half the time they could maybe be criminals, but a lot of times innocent people are running just because they're scared. And recently there was a family down in Atlanta, Georgia. Now this is their case is being taken to the Supreme Court because once again, like Breonna Taylor, their house was erroneously attacked by the FBI. It was at the nighttime, and they had the dad in handcuffs, guns in their faces. They had, I don't remember if he was a 13 or 14-year-old boy being held at gunpoint. And so now, and then they were like, oh, we made a mistake. They left their house and went on to their right house. And so now this case is supposed to be heard in the actual Supreme Court of the United States. They're saying probably sometime in April. So I'm really curious how their case comes out.
Right. I mean, just going through, right. I mean, it's a very traumatizing experience in itself to go through that. And it takes, I mean, the PTSD and the mental and emotional problems that things like that can cause. I mean, those are long lasting and sometimes, lifelong experiences that these people are going to have to endure because of a mistake. I mean, come on, you can't, I mean, that's your job. You can't be making mistakes like that. That's unacceptable. And there should be some sort of recursive actions for these victims to be able to take. That's unacceptable on so many levels.
Yeah, they have the right to do what they want as wrong as they want and have absolute zero accountability. It's disgusting.
Absolutely.
All right. Next, we'll have Carlos. Why are you on the committee? What brings you into this arena?
Well, thanks, Cynthia. Thank you, Danielle, for having us. Actually, back in the George Floyd situation, we, Black Lives Matter Dayton, who I'm a founder of, we actually did a 10-point demand for our police department back in 2020. And one of those points were ending qualified immunity. And so we went to our city, and our city actually told us there's nothing that they could do. And so at that level, so they said we would have to go to the state. In the midst of that, other things was going on. And so I ran across Cynthia doing voter registrations, and she told me her initiative. I was like, wow. And I read it, and that's when I got on. And I knew then that trying to end qualified immunity and what Cynthia was proposing was very, very, not just going after police officers, but going after a system, because it's a systemic situation, and it covers everybody when it comes to holding people accountable. And if I could, I want to remind those who are hearing this that trying to end qualified immunity is not going to be easy. Okay. As you've known, we've been through this, Cynthia, been through this 10 times, been turned down by the Attorney General, okay, trying to get our initiatives through. And so, of course, we're dealing with people who are in leadership, who has the power to stop us or hinder us, right? And I just want to remind us that it actually two instances that happened back in November 2024, which we needed in order to help our situation, was because we're not, falling, but it would have helped. Issue one, which is ending gerrymandering. We needed that to help us to make sure that we could make things even across the board when it comes to voting, because voting is very important when it comes to who you put in office, because those who are in office right now, especially these Republicans, leaders, they are actually the ones don't want this on the ballot. And then also number two is, I'll try to write down things. We needed not only to end gerrymandering, which was issue one, we also needed an administration that was more progressive. So as you can see, who we have now, they are actually, I guarantee they're going to use this person to say something or send some people our way to try to stump us in our efforts. And so I think it's very important that when we go into these primaries coming up pretty soon, that we be careful on who we vote for, because the very thing that we want, we could end up shooting ourselves in the foot because of who we put in office. And so I will end with this right here. Like Jenny had mentioned earlier, this is not a race thing, because overall, white people are killed by police more than any other demographic in the United States. And you don't hear that narrative. The only narrative you're going to hear is Blacks are killed by police disproportionately more, which is correct, but that's the only thing you hear. But we should be hearing that white people are actually the ones being killed by police more than any demographic in the United States. And that's what we're going to have to push and let people know, that it transcends race, what we're trying to do. It transcends religion. It transcends sex. It's not about none of that. It's about human rights. And at the end of the day, if you don't have the human right to have your constitutional rights intact, then we have a major, major problem in this country. And we know we have a problem. But again, depending on who we put in office, that is so imperative that we make sure we don't put these kind of guys back in office, because they're hindering us and they have a lot of resources to block us. And so that's what we're dealing with right now. And so hopefully and prayerfully, these primaries will kind of let people know, be cognizant of who you put in office. And that's my spiel when it comes to ending qualified immunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's been really heartbreaking seeing just how divided our country has become over, even just the last, 5 to 10 years. The divisiveness has to stop. Like, this is not about Democrats and Republicans. It's we the people, and none of us are going to get any of the change that we want done unless and until we come together. And we have to stop hating each other simply because of who we're voting for. And I cannot stress the importance enough over doing your research. There are so many people that are voting for somebody simply because of the party that they work with, and they know absolutely nothing about what they support, what they don't support, because both are equally important. Their lack of supporting something that's important to you can say a lot about their character and their motivations and what it is that they hope to accomplish. So I would definitely very much encourage folks to look into it. Whoever it is that you want to vote for, research it and see what it is that they hope to accomplish.
And sometimes that just for this issue of qualified immunity, many people don't know those words, because we didn't know about qualified immunity till after, during the George Floyd situation. So it had to be explained to us plenty of times for us to really understand and get the magnitude and the impact it has on our communities, right? And so I tell people at the end of the day, make sure, talk about this, because this qualified immunity is deep. It's deep, and it's in the system that is fueled by lobbyists, dark money, special interest groups, and they are definitely, and also I want to mention this too, that a lot of our important leaders are backed by special interest groups that fights against our constitutional rights, literally, right? So, and so those things are very important. We can't go by the party. I mean, the party is good, don't get me wrong, but if there's someone there who aligns with my values, vote for them. It's okay, Because you're not being disloyal to your party. You're just saying the party is not always 100%. And so vote for those who's going to align with your values. And that's key. But again, Danielle, we are divided and for many reasons. So hopefully and prayerfully, we'll learn from our mistakes.
Amen. One step at a time. That's all we can do. Just try to bring awareness and inform and do what we can.
And that's the great thing about this. We're not, a conservative, a liberal, Republican, Democrat organization. We have people from all walks of the political spectrum. We have conservatives on our coalition supporters. We have liberals on our coalition supporters, independents, libertarians, Greens, constitutionalists. This is not a divisive thing. This is such a unifying issue. It's so basic to have a government accountable to the people. That's so American. That's what makes you proud to be an American. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm as red-blooded American as it gets. I was born in a small town, Ohio, Newark, Ohio. So I was steeped in the American propaganda growing up, but you hear some of these stories and you think that's something that would happen in Mao Zedong's communist China or Stalin's Russia or modern day Venezuela. You don't think that it's something that should happen in America, where we have the preamble, "We the people."
Yes, it's time that we start acting like we the people and come together as such.
Okay, Kyle, so can you tell people listening and watching, how do they contact the committee in the next steps, how they can help us get involved?
So we need funding. If you're able to donate, please donate. You can go to oceqi.org. Or you can just search Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity, or even just Ohio Qualified Immunity, and you'll see our website pop up. You could volunteer. For every signature that a volunteer gets, that saves us $15 in a paid signature. That covers the cost of paying the paid circulator, the administrative costs of managing the petitioners. It covers the validation process. For every signature you get, that's $15 saved. If you get 10 signatures, that'd be like donating $150. If you fill up a full signature book, that's about 35 signatures. That's about $500, equivalent of a $500 donation. So please sign up to volunteer on our website. You can contact us on the website, oceqi.org. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter /X. Follow us on Instagram at the OCEQI. And please tell your friends, your family, your political associates, your neighbors. Let them know what's going on. Let them know that we can have a government actually accountable to the people. Let them know that these injustices are going on every single day. These prosecutors are prosecuting non-guilty people. They're withholding evidence. They're putting people behind bars. That government actors at all levels, through the guardianship courts, through policing, through our jails and prisons, through our university administration, they get away with violating our rights. That's not saying all of them are doing that, but the ones that do, they get away with it, and it degrades our trust in our public institutions. So please get involved. Please sign up to volunteer. Please donate if you can. Spread the word. Follow us on social media. We need this to happen. We need to have it this year in Ohio.
I'll be sure to put the link in the description box as well. So if anybody wants a quick, easy link to hop on to visit their website or their social media, then just check out the description box down below.
Thank you.
Okay, last question for Kyle. Where is this case status in federal court against David?
So-
Carl mentioned something very interesting, that he is illegally, he's trying to sabotage us because he does not want this on the ballot. So tell us the status of the case that's currently pending in federal court in Judge Graham's case.
Yes, we are suing the Ohio Attorney General, Dave Yost, in the federal courts for First Amendment violations of our right to free speech and to petition the government for redress of grievances. The case has gone through us filing our brief, Yost's response, and us responding to Yost's response in the district courts. And we are currently waiting on the judge to make a ruling in that case. Whoever he rules against, the losing party will appeal to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, where we did have back in 2024 a decision in our favor in the 3-judge panel, and which was reversed in a full en banc 16-judge Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals hearing based on mootness, because we had requested in our original filing on that one a relief just for 2024. So they sent it back to the district court, which is where we currently are. We are requesting that he certify the March 2024 submission, Protecting Ohioans' Constitutional Rights Amendment, so we can actually collect these signatures and get this on the ballot. Whenever the Judge Graham rules, as I said, we'll appeal it to the Sixth Circuit. We are confident that we will prevail there. If Yost appeals it to the Supreme Court, it goes to the Supreme Court. They can decide to accept it or not accept it. They only accept about 3% of cases. So we are moving forward with our case. We're going to hold Yost to account for these violations. We're not the only ones he does this to. And we hope to have some good news here in about a month out of the Sixth Circuit.
Absolutely. Praying for you. I hope it goes smoothly. I know the court process can be so drawn out and so exhausting, and it's complicated intentionally in hopes that we won't pursue things and just let it go. But, when it comes to our constitutional rights, if we don't fight for it and stand up for it, who will?
Oh, yes. And we have a fantastic pro bono legal team. Mark Brown out of Capital Law University. We have Oliver Hall out of the Center for Competitive Democracy, and we have the Georgetown Constitutional Law Center also part of this pro bono team of legal superstars. I invite everyone to read those briefs if you like reading great smackdowns on government actors who like to violate people's constitutional rights. They are fantastic legal writers.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll check that out and I'll stick that in the description as well. Is there like a link for that?
You can search Brown v. Yost. I'll work on getting those up on the website.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, to list them.
Show the people what they're dealing with our Attorney General.
Yes.
Absolutely. And our voices mean something. And if we don't use them, though, we can't change what we can't acknowledge.
And I know you were talking about Vivek earlier. Ohio is going to pick whatever governor Ohio picks, but I hope that the GOP does not select Dave Yost to be their gubernatorial candidate. I am coming out. I'm not endorsing anyone in the governor race, but I am coming out and I am not endorsing Dave Yost specifically. He's a criminal and he doesn't deserve to be in the governor's mansion. He needs to be behind bars.
Yeah, he's a sketchy character, to say the least, and I'll just leave it at that. But I'll say it. Vivek is badass. Oh my gosh, just hearing him speak in Toledo. I worked the event, helping with press passes and such, and he speaks so beautifully and so eloquently, and doesn't use a teleprompter. I didn't see him looking down at notes, so it's like straight from the heart. And just the way that he connects with people and talks about the real issues. There are so many politicians that just sugarcoat their BS and just spoon feed it to us. we need reality. We need somebody who is willing to look at situations for what they are and to create the change that we need.
If you do get him on your show, I would, if I could ask you a favor, could you ask him about he made a statement saying he supports qualified immunity. Would you ask him to expand on that? Ask him whether he supports prosecutorial immunity?
Yes, absolutely. I will absolutely bring this to his attention and see his thoughts on that. He spoke quite a bit about the corruption in general and wanting to bring change to that and stop that. So I would like to hope and assume that he would be fully behind and supportive of such an important mission that you have at hand right now.
Thank you.
It's just not us. It's, impacted families throughout Ohio, whether police violence, whether wrongful conviction, whether it's mass incarceration, the war on drugs. It's just a long list. People's rights are being violated in this state of Ohio.
Absolutely. Well, it's across the board too. There are, when you have these people are in control of everything, from policing to, even just getting to the court system, you've got criminal court, you've got family court, you got child protective services, and then you got guardian ad litems, and then you got your prosecutors, and it is a disgusting spider web that has just been woven across the nation, really. But even just, from state to state, all these people are connected. I do a lot of investigations and I hear a lot of stories, being an advocate. And, when you're focused on working in just one specific county and you're talking to, 30 to 100 people, and it's the same names, the same players that keep coming up over and over and over again, the same laws being broken, the same rights being violated. And it's to the point that our officials are so comfortable with doing what they do that they don't even try to hide it anymore. And that alone should horrify people when they're breaking the law and taking advantage of the community the way that they are, and have no concern over it. Something's got to be done. That's a really horrifying fact.
Danielle, you say something that's good because I can't reiterate this enough. Voting matters. Who you put in office matters, and we are seeing the negative effects of what happened in the last election, not just statewide, but nationwide, like you had alluded to. And I'm going to tell you, it's affecting us now. And so, again, those hearing this, put aside our differences, okay? We got more in common than anything, but you can't put people in office because it's a party, okay? Some people are not right for these positions. Why are you doing this? And we know what that answer is, but at some point, if you don't be careful, you could be shooting yourself in the foot. And if you meet with some of these government officials and they come to you, and I guarantee you, it's not going to be pretty when it happens to you because, again, it can happen to anybody. And your vote does matter. So hopefully people will get it.
And I'm going to actually take that a step further. And it's not even just about voting, which that is extremely important. However, all these bad actors have intentionally infiltrated our system. We have to infiltrate it back. If this is something that you care about, and if it's, if it bothers you, it upsets you, run for school board, run for city council, take those steps to take that initiative to be a part of that change. Because I've noticed, and I know I'm in small town USA, but on the last voting ticket, the vast majority of things that I had to vote on, there was only one person. And, I know way too much about a lot of these shady ass characters around here. So I wasn't about to fill in a little hole. Even if they are the only one, I'll leave that blank, but if we all, step up, we need the good people to take action and run for offices, and let's infiltrate our system and take it back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have any questions, Danielle, for the committee?
I don't. Y'all are just amazing. I love what you're doing, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it and to do what I can to help and encourage change. I know they don't make it easy. Anytime you deal with anything involving the system, the red tapes and the, oh, well, we don't like the way this is done, so sorry, we're just not going to let it go through. I mean, their excuses are endless, and it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. And I praise y'all for what you are doing. I absolutely love it and would love to have y'all back on another time to kind of touch base, once it gets closer to the time. If you guys want to come back on and give us an update, I would love for that.
Absolutely.
Anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know, and I will gladly do so.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate you greatly.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for having us.
You are so very welcome. It was a pleasure to have y'all on.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right, good night, everyone. All right.
Good night.